Hey, welcome to Off the Record with Randall. I've got, of course, my old friend Howie Cheney with me, but Howie, we've got a good friend and somebody I started with back in broadcasting. I called my first game calling one of his games, but we got Coach Benefield here, and thank you for setting this up.
Oh, it's no problem. Coach Benefield, he's talking to me. There's no problem. I know Coach Benefield enjoys these interviews, and I know Randy seemed like a kid in a candy store for the last 2 weeks waiting for this.
Coach, I got to admit, I may be a little more of a fan than an interviewer, so.
Well, that's okay. That's all right.
I run the.
I'm proud I got some fans.
I am.
Y'all start this thing off with, what a coach told I heard in a clinic back 30 years ago said every year you make 5 enemies. So I've been coaching 30 years.
That means you got 30 fans and 150 enemies.
That's right. And that's right. And I read a thing the other day, your biggest fan is somebody you don't know, and your biggest enemy is somebody you do know. So which that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Well, that means I'm your enemy then.
Oh, no.
Coach, since I left the mountain, WFPA, many years ago, I've been in the Sequatchie Valley. So right now I'm the voice of the Sequatchie County football. And we run the only scoreboard that includes Fyffe on every one of our scoreboard updates. So
that's awesome.
All over the valley, they know your score if they don't know anybody else's.
Well, that's good. I didn't know we had fans that far away.
Well,
or enemies, either way.
Coach, you've had a great run. I mean, and you've got the kids. Now, I got a lot of friends on my social media that have kids that played for you or kids that did play for you. And your high school had the prom here lately, and even your lovely wife had posted something about your kids went to their prom with 3 state championship rings on it, their senior class. That's pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, that is just unbelievable. Sometimes I don't even believe it. It's, I wake up some mornings and see that tag on our field house, and I'm thinking, how did this happen? So it's amazing. All my kids have a state championship ring, and that's pretty special. All 3 boys have.
Well, that's funny. That's the first question I had down. I wanted to ask you about, and Howie, I'll let you follow up. But Coach, I've known through Howie a lot. We talk about you a lot, but one of the things Howie always brings up, and I've always heard, coaching your sons were something special to you. And what was it like coaching your boys, and where do you separate that sometimes? Is it tough, or does it just come naturally?
Well, I guess it was natural for me. I guess I treated my sons tougher than I did the other kids because, I see a lot of daddy ball everywhere I look, and so I didn't want to be one of those coaches. Really probably not good to coach your own kids, but some people, and I enjoyed it, but I get some mean looks from mama every once in a while, and it's just my kids have all, which like I said, I just treat mine like everybody else's, which is not good sometimes, as they say, but they have to live with me, though. That's the different part. But I'm usually a pretty nice guy at home, usually.
Well, Howie, you got to follow up to that.
Let's go back to that. Bringing up Miss Jody there for a second, getting mean looks from Mama. How has that affected you over the last several years?
Oh, not much. Just mean looks. I get them from a lot of mamas, so it just know how what it lives for me. And all the mamas get over it, or they carry it with them too long. I don't know, but I just try to treat everybody the same, and it's a team thing. It's not an individual sport, and I try to teach unselfish kids to play and love their teammates and do things for their team, and not worry about what kind of newspaper clippings they get from it, and that's hard to do in today's world. It's always hard to do. You know, when kids come from a place where they're the main attraction, and all of a sudden you're just another brick in the wall. But that's the way life is. You got to learn to adapt to that. And I think if that's been a secret of ours, that's been my secret, is I try to get rid of that ego and make them fall into a team thing and play together. And a bunch of guys playing together are hard to beat. They like one another. If they don't like one another, but they're playing together anyway. And I say this a lot. You know, people have heard me say a lot. They all got one thing in common at the end of the day. They all hate me at some point in time, so they can rally around that instead of hating each other. So I don't know. I reckon it's worked pretty good.
Coach, I've been lucky to be around some coaches in my day, and it seems like I always ask them one thing. And you know, being up on getting a broadcast Sand Mountain football for a few years, it seems like those kids, they take coaching real well. Is that your experience? You've been at Sylvania, you've been at Fyffe. Are you able to coach kids harder at those schools? Maybe because it is a little smaller.
Possibly, I don't know. I've never been to any other schools, so I don't know. I don't know what they do and how they do it, but I know. I guess I do coach them hard, and I'm going to coach that way wherever I'm at. You know, I say probably it's easier to coach at certain schools that way than it is others. Of course, it depends on your principals, superintendents, and the people going to stick with you and believe in what you're doing, and believe at the end of the day that they're going to make that kid better. And if you believe that, then you stand behind whatever I do for discipline or whatever I do anyway. That's, you know, I'm trying to make a team out of 30 kids most every year. That's not always easy to do.
Yeah, Coach. In your school, that's the number one question I get from people. I guess they don't realize or they haven't been there. You said you had 30 kids. You've got about 200 enrollment. So you've got about, you know, if half of those are girls, you got about 30% of your boys playing football to field your team. So is your numbers ever a problem?
Oh, yes. I've had anywhere from actually the other day I showed the kids the first team I had at Fyffe. They had 16 11th and 12th graders, and then one 10th grader, and we had 4 8th graders and a couple 7th graders dressed out to make us look good. Even though that didn't make us look too good, but so we had 17. You know, I had a friend of mine that said, "Oh, we'll have kids come out when you get there." I said, "No, you're wrong. We'll have kids leaving when I get there because they don't know what's ahead of them and what kind of work they're going to do to be better." And so I've had anywhere from our numbers right now are down. Even it's just amazing that you won 3 straight state championships and you only have 30 kids playing in 9 through 12. So, but that's just, you know, there's really not nobody in the school there's just not many boys in school right now. We're actually playing with 2A kids right now. We'll go back to 2A next time they reclassify, but our big classes are all graduated, so we're still. And, you know, I don't know in the future we have a couple of bigger classes coming up, but I think our 10th grade is 50 something. But you know, it's just the way it goes. It's a small school, and sometimes you have 30, sometimes you have 50.
Yeah.
But I just want the ones that want to play football, and I don't want to go to the game. Kids, I'm afraid, are going to quit in the middle of the game or in the middle of the fourth quarter, and so we try to work them hard and be tough on them. And then if they don't want to play, don't want to do that, then it's a tough game. It's a tough world, tough life, and so you just got to get tough and keep going, or move on. But it is a commitment for sure.
Well, let me ask you this: you've been coaching for 30 plus years as a head coach, or right at 30 years, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Has your style of coaching changed any over these years?
Well, I don't think so. I have some guys that played. I had one other day that came by that thought I got soft, and I said, "Well, I don't know. Maybe I have. You might need to ask these kids took that tongue lashing yesterday here. How I saw that. I don't know. That I think that's just natural for kids to say, "Oh, you're tougher on us than you were on them. Oh, you're this, you're that." But and then I hear stories all the time. Whatever things I've done, I don't even remember. So evidently, everything gets stretched as years go by.
Well, let me bring one of those memories up.
Player I was too, Coach. If you listen to me now, I was a hair from the majors, even though I never even started. So.
Well, that's I went the other way. After I started coaching and watching good players play, I don't want any of my tapes around anymore. I couldn't have played for me.
Well, let me bring up one of those memories that you was talking about. I remember your first year at Sylvania, which was my senior year, and I didn't play for you, unfortunately, but I remember we was in the weight room after the North Jackson football game, and we were kind of horseplaying a little bit, and you came in and you set it straight, and I think I will remember that. Yeah, well, I didn't think you would, but I think I'll remember that probably as long as I'll live, because that was the first time I've ever heard a coach just rip everybody a new one during a weight room session.
Well, I guess I turn into some other kind of monster when I'm coaching or we're working out, because I've been told those kind of things before that I don't remember all of it. But I know that I had about one of my statisticians said that one Sunday before we played state championship, one of our best players, or the best player, comes in with bad body language. I ripped him up and down. I'm thinking if I had chance to be playing for a state championship next Friday, I'd come in here bouncing off every wall. But anyway, made me feel better to get that off my chest, to tell him, exactly how lucky and blessed you are to be fixing to get to play for a state championship. Don't come in like you don't want to work out today. Yeah. So, and I can't stand to watch somebody say that for me, mediocrity. Yeah, I can't stand to watch it. I can't stand to see kids halfway do something. I wished I could sometimes, but then again, I guess I'm glad I don't, because I can't stand to watch loafing. I can't stand people's not listening. And, this list goes on and on of people who don't pay attention to details. And I tell my guys all the time, hey, don't mean I don't like you just because you don't play football. But if you're going to be on my team, I want you to be interested in winning, because I've always been interested in doing the very best I can. Not going to win every game. And when you get through and you get beat, shake their hand and go on, and try to get better. But good grief, you at least prepare like you want to win every game. And you 16, 17-year-old, you ought to feel good all the time. They do. You got to teach an everyday work ethic that we just don't have anymore. And it's tough sometimes, but I started them out young in the 7th grade, and we tried to teach a real solid foundation of work ethic every single day that we're at school or practice.
Coach, that was actually a question I had. Do you, and I know you probably got junior high coaches and coaches underneath you, but do you want your kids running the same program starting in the 7th grade? Do you treat them like they're on the high school team? Same offense, same defense, same work? It really sets a tone if you do that, correct?
Oh, yes, I do that. Especially their work habits, and I'm in the weight room with 7th and 8th graders, and I'm going to stay in there. Even though I'm retired, I'll be in the weight room. I wouldn't coach a team that I couldn't get the kids anymore, before the 9th grade. We're so far ahead by then. It's 2 years of training and teaching and things that they're ready by the 9th grade. If you start having to teach a kid all that stuff, In other words, you're behind if you miss a year. I feel like, and you ought to be. If you're doing anything every day, you ought to be behind. Unless you're just a superior athlete that comes in there that decides, they're going to play. They're usually behind everybody.
Well, I appreciate you talking about me like that. I've been a superior athlete, Coach. So,
yeah, I wanted to mention you right there.
But I've been in your office when one of your players walked in and they didn't walk in with confidence. You told them walk out and come back in with confidence with their head held high. You know, you're teaching these young men or young boys to become men, and you know, a lot of coaches don't care about that stuff.
Well, if you're going to go in for an interview, that nobody wants to hire a guy looking at the ground. They want people to come in, shake your hand, look at them eye to eye, and speak. And, you know, I'm really big on that. That's one of the best things I started doing. You have to speak to me when you come in and when you leave, whether you're mad at me or not. It don't matter. You know, I'm not just, don't mean I hate you because I get on your tail at practice trying to get you to do more. And that's my job. My job is, I'll tell them all the time, your job is to go 100%. My job is to teach you where to go and how to get there and what to do to get there. But your job is to come in every day and make me happy in your effort and your listening skills. That's a lost art now, too, you know.
So, Coach, and you've had a great run, and you got moved from 2A to 3A. Was there a point in this, and it's impossible to say, oh, I knew I was going to win three state championships. Was there a point, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you looked at the classes lumping up and you thought we got a chance to be pretty good for a little run here?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not my wildest dreams. I learned a long time ago, coaching will make you humble in a hurry. Now, I'm accused of being a poor mouther. If anybody says that I knew that we was going to win 5 state championships in the last 7 years, they're absolutely insane, because that never, we want to win every game we can, but, you know, it's just, it had been something all the years that we ran into that we couldn't get over that hump, you know, to be with the elite teams in the state. So to say that I saw that, and of course the ones that just graduated, I had my youngest son in there, and I saw something special in them. But to win 45 games in a row, no, I didn't see that. I mean, I wouldn't even dare lie about that to think I would. We're just taking one day at a time. And those kids were real coachable. They're no superstars, just, you know, good physical, really physical kids that were always in the right spot. Most of the 90% of the time they was in the right spot, so, or 95 probably. But you know, some decent speed. But no, I did not see all that coming.
Coach, that I want to ask one question then about how much did the leadership of your team play in the state title game when you were down 16-0 at halftime? Was it the kids that come in there and kind of rallied everybody around, or were they calm, or what was the mood in that at halftime at that game?
No, the kids didn't rally. We scored right before half. It's 16-6.
16-6. Okay.
Yeah, and we just we blocked a field goal and ran it 80 yards for a touchdown, and they called it back. And the other team, even though we're told if we don't have no timeouts, you can't challenge anything, but they did, and won the challenge at the play clock run out. But that's another story. That's another chapter of the book. But no, there wasn't no panic. You know, I think all that starts with me as far as my demeanor, and I didn't panic. And actually, I was just sitting there thinking, how are we going to make a first down? We're going to get beat 50-0 if we don't figure out some way to make first downs. You can't look at the scoreboard and worry about scoring 16 points. You got to make a first down and another one, and hope you start making some plays. And no, there wasn't no panic. There was no loud talking. There wasn't nothing but trying to figure out what we needed to do. And I felt like we kind of got away from our game plan a little bit, and we tried to get back on track there. And, you know, I just never wanted to quit regardless, no matter what the score is. Anybody that says they knew we was going to win is probably telling you a lie, because I didn't know. I didn't know anything at the time. Wasn't worrying about making a first down and stopping them from making a first down and work it from there. But I just try not to panic and try not to get frustrated at officials, and try not to your kids, that carries over to your kids, and they get frustrated. But just, they look at me for what they should look at is for guidance. So what we're gonna do here, Coach? I remember I had a boy one year at Tanner. Tanner was coming off back-to-back state championships, and we 7-7 at half, and we just fought our guts out and run a long drive and scored to make it 14-7, and then guess what? We kick off, and Shadarius Townsville goes 90 yards for a touchdown, and they're looking at me, all my kids. I said, "Hey, it's 14-14 now, so it is what it is. Let's go back to work and try to make another first down." So, if I drop my head and give up, of course they will. That's I'm just not going to do that. We're going to play it out.
I've got a question as far as your game, as far as your game day ritual. Then I think Randy's going to ask you about your offense and stuff. But I've got, my question is going to be, is there any ritual or superstition or something that you do on game day that you feel like you have to do before every game?
Yeah, seems like there is, but I can't remember what it is. It's probably lots of things. I try to stay away from the kids. It's one thing's probably different than a lot of coaches. They probably can stay away from their kids, but my kids, I don't have to be in the room with them for them to act right. And I tell them they're going to answer to me if there's any issues like that. So a lot of times I just try to get away from everybody, and just because I'm too hyped up and nervous, the kids don't need to play that way.
So even after all these years, you still get nervous before games?
Oh, yeah. You know why I get nervous? Is because I don't want to. I've had some of my players ask me that. Why do you get nervous after this long? I said, well, I don't want to call a play that cost y'all the game. I don't want to make a decision because I said I know how hard y'all work every day, and I know what you put into it. And now I would really, really feel like I'd let you down if I make a stupid call, which I have, of course. Every coach does. You just got to move on and make another decision, hope it's right. So, but yeah, I'm sure I have certain things I got to carry the game. Howie, I used to have that Notre Dame keychain I had to have in my pocket, but it wore out finally. And, that's all just crazy anyway, but we all have them as coaches. I don't have nothing that's just really.
Well,
really
I remember I used to tell you as we was walking to the field, I'm like, all right, on first play, let's go deep. And you said, okay, we'll do it. And you run it full back up the middle.
Let's go deep.
Coach,
yep.
Howie tried to set me up by saying that I should ask you about your completion percentage. He said it's not hard to have the best completion percentage when you only throw 30 passes a year. So,
hey, you just look at her touchdown passes. That's all we'll look at. I look at the paper every so often, and at least somebody threw it 125 times, and they've completed 60, and I'll look, and they've completed 10 touchdown passes, and we've completed 10 out of 22 catches sometimes. So, I was taught young that points and touchdowns is what counts, and it don't matter how you get from one end of the field to the other. I admire the people who throw it around and do all that stuff. I'm just too dumb to do it, and I guess I didn't feel like I had the players to do it, but if you can do it, fine. Whatever works for you. Everybody is different, and I've got the way I want to do things. We want to be the toughest team on the field. Whether we always are is probably not always, but we want. That's what we. That's our pride, is being the toughest guys on the field. I mean, from first quarter on, not just hit hard in the first quarter, hit hard all 4 quarters, and play hard, and do the best you can to. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
Coach, that's funny. I had another coach one time show me a website that had wing T shotgun plays on it and had your name on it, and he was like, do you know who this guy is? And I go, yeah, I know who he is. Where did you first get involved with a shotgun wing T?
Well, you talking about now what we run?
Yeah.
Well, I run a little bit of. I run the traditional wing T for 25 years, 20, 24, whatever. And then I stumbled upon this. This is actually a kind of a child of the double wing is what we do. We're running a gun double wing. We're 2 tight ends. We have nobody split out. We do sometimes, but not often. But we're packed in toe-to-toe, and it is a wing, but it's only one wing instead of double wing, and we're in shotgun. So it's just been good to us. People beginning to copy it and learn how to stop it. And, of course, the more people start to run it, the less effective it's going to be. So I sure do dread having to do something else, and no longer probably I'm going to coach. I might not ever do nothing else because I sure do like it. But now when I run the traditional wing too, we might actually throw it 10 times a game, wouldn't we, Howard?
Well, if you're feeling frisky, if you was feeling frisky, you might throw it about 10 times a game back in the day.
That's right. That's right. If old LeBron Turner turned it loose there, he's pretty good with that ball. You know why I don't like to throw it a lot is because sometimes other people catch it. And they're not on the team. And I am kind of anti-turnover. If you've ever talked to any anti-turnover coach, you're talking to one. And of course, we all say we are, every coach, but are they really? When you look around at the end of the season and you got 47 turnovers, are you really a coach that don't like turnovers? Because I hadn't ever had 47. I don't even know if anybody's had that many, but if you're a coach out there listening, you got over 30, you better start looking at what you're doing because you're not giving your kids a chance to win if you turn it over 3 times a game.
Coach, as a radio announcer, I'll tell you, I hate 5 wide and 4 wide. I can't get it set before they're running another play, so it don't hate.
Well, it's good stuff. It's hard to defend sometimes. You got the right man throwing that ball around.
Yeah.
And he's the key to it. We've played against some. I did have a fan one time say, "Coach, seems like we have trouble with those teams that spread it out and have a really good running quarterback." And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, don't most people have a problem with that? I've seen Alabama have a problem with that, and y'all."
Yeah.
I think Johnny Manziel was a problem.
Yeah. Good point.
Coach, you brought up the LeBron Turner deal. You've told me in the past that you felt like if you would have ran the shotgun back then, you might have had a state championship by then because what the people that don't realize he broke his finger toward the end of the game, the Colbert County game, the one that Randy's going to talk to you about here shortly. But you've told me that if you had practiced any shotgun, you feel like you could have won that game.
Well, that was in the second quarter when he broke his thumb. I mean, he just dislocated the thumb completely. It wasn't even a thumb joint left. But I just thought, looking back, if taking that snap was the hardest thing to do. When you start taping that up, it's hard to get a snap. But shotgun snap, he could have got it. But you take away Josh Anderson there running, those quick hit traps up the middle. You taking that away when you run trap. So, when you run shotgun, you can't hit it that quick. So, it'd been good, bad. We might have had a chance, but I just should have been a better coach, and we might have had one too. You never know. I was awful young during the days. Didn't know a whole lot.
That was kind of my question. Is that was one of the last games I called before I moved to Chattanooga, and it was one of the better games. It's a game I think about to this day. But it seems like that game. And then when you went to Fyffe, you had some real good football teams. It was a process for you as a coach too, a learning process, getting your first job, going back to Fyffe. Was there a point that you just kind of went as a coach, hey, I get what I want to do now, and I learned this at Colbert County, and I learned this with my 2007 team? Is it just a history lesson after a few years?
Yeah, you learn things. You learn some things you don't want to do. And it's just in the winter of 2014, I was just thinking, we stay in the weight room all the time. We work in the weights we don't go to 7-on-7 camps. And I thought, what can I do, to really make that come to the field, carry in the weight room to the field. So, wing T is a good offense, but it's, it's angle blocking. It's in a way, it's finesse blocking. But what we do now is a whole lot different. And I'm not saying it's going to always work forever. The guys on the field's making it work anyway. But I knew we had people coming that could do it. But I didn't foresee the future of what it really was going to bring to us, and how it's been so good for us. And it's just really a physical, both sides of the ball type of game. And the more, and I made a comment one time, the more people spread out, the closer we're going to get together. So that's what we did. You can throw a blanket over our whole offensive line and backfield and everything. But if you got a weak kid out there, we try to find it. If you got a kid that really don't know if he wants to play football, we try to find it. Same way as I've got some possibly coming that might not be tough enough to play against us. So that's just the way it is.
Well, in 14, when you got your breakthrough state title, and again, that Colbert County game, I thought if you got past that game, sky was the limit, and it was a great game. But in 14, I heard you had won a state title, and the first thing in my head was, Coach probably feels like the weight of the world is off his head.
Amen.
Was it just a great relief to you?
Yes. It's just the happiness and the joy didn't override just the really fact that, hey, you can walk off the field for once and not have to bite that losing pill at the end of the year, and it's just an amazing feeling, something I've never had experience, and no sport player as a coach or nothing. So it was special, and it's like I've literally do have the monkey off my back now. I can coach a little easier. I don't stress as much. And you know what? Me and Howie's talking about a while ago, I still get tore up like I used to. No, I don't. I don't think I do. I'm still a little nervous, just the fact of what I said, because a lot of things can determine your season. And going back to that, did I see these kids coming on? Here's the thing about high school football. You get 2 or 3 injuries in the right place, and you've got a really, really, really good team. All of a sudden, you're just mediocre. And so you don't know about that. And that's why you can't go out and toot your horn and start telling everybody how good you're going to be. And because people in the town sometimes don't know you've lost a good lineman or a good player that, really turns your team around. And you just, that's what makes you nervous, is the fact that somebody might get hurt in this game, and you don't want to see a kid get hurt that's worked so hard for 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years, and just destroy his whole season. And that's tough, because I see all the stuff he does, and the kids that really, really are warriors that come out every day and work, and that's the kind that you just can't stand hardly to see get hurt. But it happens. It's the only bad thing about football. I've always said it's the greatest sport in the world, but the only bad part about it's injuries. Of course, I know you get hurt in all sports, but that's just it's part of it, part of life. You got to go on.
Well, let's talk about that injuries for a second. Your son got injured this season toward the end of the year. What was your feelings knowing that he was basically done for the year after seeing everything, his progression from the 7th grade up to his senior year toward the end, he's done.
Yeah, it's tough. That's where the daddy comes in, and of course, as a coach too, we missed him. We missed him out there, but excuse me. But like I told him, you got to do what you can do to help us win now, and that is turn into a coach and somebody keeps a good attitude, and just do the best you can. And he did. I think he helped us last couple games, but excuse me, I think I've got a pollen in my throat. But anyway, I'm sitting here under some trees. But yeah, it's tough. I've had a lot of good kids hurt and cost them a season, but it's just a chance to it's an opportunity to show your team what you are, and hey, you're not going to sulk around and mope around and like you're the only player we got, and encourage other kids that's playing and do what you can to help us win. And that's what he did. And that's why, I'm proud of him. Of course, he lived with me, and that we had some talks about that. But, that's all you can do. Is all you can do. You can't do any more, and you can't do anything about injuries. You can't do anything about officials. You can't do anything about weather. And excuse me, you got to go on and play it.
Coach, how big of a legacy, and how do you address this moving forward with your kids? To me, you got different classes coming. You've set this history up. And one of the things Nick Saban always says is trust the process. And I don't know if he means it, but every time he says that, I kind of think he's saying, do the work and we'll get you there. Is that the roadmap now you share with the younger kids as they start becoming sophomores and juniors and seniors? Is
sure.
You got to do the work now.
That's exactly right. And, they've been doing it. They've been doing it right along, whether it's on the field or not. They've been doing it. But sometimes your talent level is not as good. And some kids, they are not competitors like others. And we've lost a great group of competitors. And I don't know how we'll replace them, but we're going to keep our nose to the grindstone. I can tell you that. I'm going to see to that we keep working. And all you can do, and as a coach 25 years ago, I said all you can do every year is play hard and don't give up. And that's easy said. Every coach says that. Good grief, we got it on T-shirts, hold the rope, and all this stuff. But that's just words. I want to turn the film on, and we're behind 21-7 with 2 minutes to go, and I want to see who's playing and who's give up, quit, dropping their head. That's, and I know what you're thinking. We ain't been behind 21-7 in a long time. We were behind 16-0.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, I did think it. I was thinking,
but we
ain't been behind 27-0 since 1989. So.
And there's, in a way too, I feel sorry for kids coming through now because they got a lot of pressure on them. But I tell them, you're not going to win every game. I don't care how many years we have. We're not going to win every game. And we don't want to win more than we lose. We want to win the ones where we're supposed to win and sneak up maybe on somebody and play it out. Just be a man and play it out every week. And that's all you can do.
Absolutely.
We'll do the best we can do.
Well, Coach, I've asked you this in the past, and you won't answer it, so I'm not going to ask you the question again. but I've asked you in the past, name off some of your better players that you've had in the past, and you won't answer that, and I understand why. Let me ask you this. Name off a couple players that you have had to prepare for that you really dreaded having to prepare for them.
Wow.
I'll answer one for him. Steve Stanley from Colbert County. Now he can take over from there.
That was in another seemed like 50 years ago when we was preparing for him. But yes, that was.
Well, I remember I remember the very first one.
Brian Steger was pretty good too over at Buckhorn one year.
That was the one I was going to say. I remember the very first one you had to go against, Brian Steger, and I think he touched the ball for 5 times for 5 touchdowns and 200 yards rushing.
Probably might have, but he had to run over a few of us to get there, though, didn't he?
Yes, sir, he did.
But just some people come to my mind is Darius Stewart at Lady Fulsendale that was with the Jets a couple of years, went to Alabama. Man among children, and let's see, like I said, there Chadarius Townsend had great speed at Tanner. They had a kid the year before that was really good. I can't remember his name, but I just have to. I've coached against some good players. And, really, right now, let's see. Coached against the Mosley kid at Leroy that went to Auburn.
Yeah,
was a good player. And they had a really, really good defense. The Lineville, Clay County players. back years ago when we couldn't even stay on the field, people like that. They had lots of athletes and lots of skill. There's been a lot of them, and I wouldn't mind naming some of mine that really laid it on the line, but I know I'd leave somebody out. And coaches are weird characters anyway, but one of the proudest things that I've been and I always remember is Howie. Remember when Chad got hurt at Sylvania, Chad Anderson, and how my guys responded the rest of the year to that.
Yeah.
We just finally ran out of gas at the end of the year. But they, I sold them on go ahead and let's play it out, compete. And we won 8 or 9 games.
Yep.
And then I had a team at Fyffe that I had a really good running back, Jeff Pitts, my first year at Fyffe. We were rolling along there good, and he tore ACL. And we came back the next week and beat a really good Crossville team at Crossville. And we just started running quarterback sneaks in the fourth quarter. And that's when you got a pretty dang good line, when you can just line up and get 3 or 4 or 5 yards on a quarterback sneak and run the clock out. So I was proud of that team because all they'd ever known, they grew up, with Jeff was the man. He was a man, and he was a good player. But, I want to convince them some of you other guys are good players too. So, it's time you went ahead and see what y'all can do now without him. Anyway, that's just the fact of not quitting and the training and the effort you give through your working out that they hate so bad to do sometimes, but it comes back to the field in the fourth quarter when everybody's tired and they've got a second win. So, but I've had some really good kids that just not even good athletes, that just really good. They're good daddies now and got good family, and you're just as proud of them as you are the ones, the MVPs and stuff. You just make good decisions, and if it's the wrong thing to do, don't do it. If it's the right thing to do, that's what you need to try to. And everybody messes up, and you're gonna make some bad decisions. So try to learn from it, and grow up as you go a little bit. But anyway,
Coach, we're gonna wrap this up. But before we do, we got a couple of things we want to do with you. First, Howie's going to do a little name association. He's got some names he wants to associate with. I want to pay you a compliment, Coach. I know we've talked about it a couple of times, but my job at the time was to go put a microphone in front of you after the Sylvania Colbert County game, and you did it. And not a lot of coaches would have done it. And from that moment on, I always had such respect for the fact that even though you was hurting, the kids was hurting, you took the time. So that's always been something special to me, that it's not fun to put that microphone in front of somebody after an emotional game.
No, it's not. You had a job to do, though, and you had to do it. And my job at that time was finished. And we played hard. We played the state champions, very, very well. It didn't turn out like we wanted, but my guys that's playing that night are all champions anyway. So
yes, sir.
So that's what it is.
And before Howie does this, I'm going to ask you one more question. You've got to answer this, and you can't get away from this one.
All right.
The night you won 300, and it made it to social media, how excited was you to walk back into the locker room and see that video that had your heroes on it?
That was pretty awesome. That was total shocker to me. That not a clue. They keep stuff from me anyway all the time, so they really kept that. I was just looking around like, what is going on? To hear Brett Favre call your name out and Pete Rose. I used to go to Atlanta and watch Pete Rose play for the Big Red Machine. I saw Favre play a couple of times, thanks to Howie. And thank you, Howie. But, that is, I'll never forget that. I've got that taped on my phone. So I get down and out, I'm going to play that.
Well, I thought the best moments when Brett Favre told you he couldn't teach you a lot about football. that one was a special one. But
well, I read a thing the other day about some guy put something about how they need to quit running the wing tee, not giving the kids a chance to get scholarships. And I'm thinking, man, they didn't give Brett Favre a chance, did his dad run the wing tee the whole time he was in high school? And of course, Favre, you know him, he's wanting to throw it all the time. I'm sure him and his dad was had some good arguments, but they found him. You know, it's a miracle that they found a quarterback to wing tee or running offense. But they find football players. It don't matter if you throw it 20 times or 7, or 40 times, they'll figure it out.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's go with that real quick. You was talking. The what?
I got to get focused.
No. You was talking about they'll find you if you're out there, if you do what you're supposed to. You know, your tight end, Brody Dalton, you know, that's the case in point right there, going to UAB. You know, you joked around, but you really don't throw the ball a whole lot during the season, but yet he's going to UAB to play tight end.
That's right. He probably caught, I don't know, 15 to 20 footballs. 3 years he probably caught them, and probably had 7 or 8, 9 touchdowns. But you know what they said they liked about him? He was nasty, and he would block you. So that's and you don't have to see a guy catch a ball many times to know, well, that dude can catch a ball. He played basketball. He can dunk it on one step. And so and Ike Rouse down there too, and I think he's going to make a lot of people wish they'd offered him a scholarship. Yeah. He's got a preferred walk on, but I think if he don't get hurt, he's going to do well too. Brody, we hope Brody's the best too with him. And Caleb Lyle's going to West Alabama, and Eli's going to Faulkner. So we hope our kids the best at all those places.
And Brody won a state championship in basketball too, did he not?
He did. He sure did.
There's not a lot of kids can. He might be the first 3-time football, 1-time basketball champion in the history of the state.
He might be. I don't know. I don't know. Some of them. There used to be a school over there called Hazelwood that could come up with some of that.
Yeah, let's skip Hazelwood.
And Carver County, Carver County might have done some of that too. The Ozzie Newsom and those kind of people play.
Yeah. And Eli going to Faulkner. Where do you think? What do you think his future is down at Faulkner? Where they told you where he's going to play, start out?
Linebacker's what they want him for. He's got to get his knee 100%. He's still working on that. He might get a red shirt since because of that, and give him a year to get it fully strained. I don't know what their plans are, but linebacker's what they want him to play.
All right, Coach, you ready?
I'm ready.
Word association. I'm going to say somebody's name, and you tell me how you feel about them or what you think about them, depending on how you feel or what you think. The first one is this senior class. These boys, what do you think?
Champions, just champions through and through. That describes them. What better thing can you say about somebody?
Nothing.
Winners,
right.
Champions. For the most part, great kids. I'm sure they'll make some mistakes along the way, but there's just a nucleus of great kids right there from great families. They'll be really, really good people. We hope they won't be perfect, but they'll be some of our best, some of our finest.
All right, I'll give you time to think on this next one. Miss Jody Benefield.
Poor, pitiful girl had to put up with me for 30 years and raised 3 boys and live in a house of men. And she's pretty tough, and real tough. I don't know if she asked for everything she has had to do. But she carries me to the game. That may be you asked about my pregame ritual. We ride in my truck now. She drives me to the game. That's our good luck.
Okay. The next one be Mr. Harold Bowden.
Harold Bowden. He's a legend, a statistical legend. Harold Bowden is, and I think he told me now he's won. He counts his wins. He done stats for Coach Householder. He counts all of his wins and all of mine. So Harold's up over 500.
And you've told me some stories about you and him that you say y'all are. It's hard to believe that y'all are still alive after some of the things that y'all have done in the
Yeah,
past.
that's basically the good Lord has been on top of us for us to still be alive. That's exactly right. We actually played Little League Baseball against one another, and we are on the same team. And just Harold Bolden was a rank Alabama fan in them days, buddy. It was funny. You get him going on that pretty quick. And he's a Boston Red Sox fan and a Fyffe Red Devil fan.
Right. And then of course this last one's going to be Coach Househalter.
Coach House, he's legendary and just was so fun to play for, and we sometimes tough and rough like he needed to be, but at the end of the day, everybody loved Coach House, and he's just he helped me a lot in ways you don't even know. He trained all the people of Fyffe a long time before I got there, and nobody wanted to go down on the field and tell him anything that was going on he needed to be doing. Matter of fact, he could come up in the bleachers with them if they wanted him to. So you learn to shut up, just talk bad on the way home to your wife and tell them what all the coach should have done instead of hollering at him on the sideline.
Well, with you playing for Coach House, what position did you play?
Well, he let me run the ball. Was in the wishbone. He should have put me at guard. I told him a long time ago, you ought to put me at guard. No, you shouldn't have been a guard. I was actually a guard in the 8th grade, and the fullback went to a car race or a horse show or something. They said, who run the ball? And I was just standing there, and Coach House said he can't. My two brothers could, but that didn't mean I could. But that's where I went. He said quarterback, that's where I'd have went. But that's how I got to play fullback.
Coach,
I was
guard the fullback?
Only in Fyffe, Alabama.
Wishbone. That's what you want at fullback's a guard.
That's true. That's true. I'm gonna give you that one.
I was a little bowling ball, and I was better at blocking than anything else. So, like I said, I should have been a guard.
Wow, that's only in Fyffe, Alabama where you go from a guard to a running back.
Oh no, man! I had a boy one time that was played split end. He started out in 7th and 8th grade. He was a center on the 7th and 8th grade team. Tall, skinny, was a center, and then he got up to varsity. I had him at split end, and then put him at quarterback a week before the first game.
Nice. That's progression.
So he went from center, split end to quarterback, all in 3-4 years.
Well, he got to hold the ball in all those positions at least a little bit.
That's right.
Coach, this I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this, and we're going to let you run. I want to ask you one more question. Howie, you knew this one was coming. How do you during the season, you're occupied with your season, and I know you're a huge Green Bay Packer fan. Can you find time to enjoy football outside of your games during the season, or are you watching film and you just got to keep up it?
A little of both. I watch film around it. I really love the NFL. I'm just not much. I'm opposite what everybody else. Most people like college better, but I don't. I like the NFL because I want to see the greatest people play that are the best players. I've been a Green Bay fan ever since the first Super Bowl. I saw every Super Bowl or parts of every Super Bowl, I'm sure I should say. Some of them wasn't interested enough to watch, I guess, but there hadn't been a Super Bowl. I was 10 years old or 9 when Green Bay won the first one. I guess that's how they made a fan out of me. And Bart Starr, my mother, I remember her saying he's from Alabama. And of course, we had Charles Long playing for the Patriots. He was from Fyffe. And we'd run home after church and try to get that old black and white TV where we could see the Patriots playing if they were on TV. And I'm an NFL fan. I don't agree with all the things that going on that they've done now, but that's beside the point. But we'll just keep it all football. Don't worry about it. I think that's what they need to do more is just play the game.
I got a strict rule. I don't tune in till 14 minutes to go in the first quarter, so I miss everything. I start with 14 minutes. So.
Well, I'm on Aaron Rodgers' side. I think he's been done wrong. I said it last year. When you don't draft a split end to go with him, you got the greatest quarterback. Yes, that's what I said. The greatest quarterback in the NFL right now.
I agree with you, Coach.
And he's the best there is, and hadn't put together any. I'm not in charge of that though, so I'm sure they'd say mind your own business. So, but we got to get him on the field, or we can forget it.
My daughter, if we don't get him on the field, Anna Lee's not going to Auburn because his merchandise is not going up. So,
well, yep, you're gonna have to get that more valuable with a couple of Super Bowls.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to get a little smarter, but. Anyway, I guess they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, it seems like I don't understand it. If you've got the best thoroughbreds, you want to get the best jockey to ride him, and don't seem like they've got him a whole lot in the last few years.
I think things went downhill on the little draft pick last year, and not that I know that the quarterbacks are different than they used to be. They're more involved in the. But hey, good grief, man! Just think about who could be playing at Green Bay right now that got drafted split in.
Yeah.
That dude, that DK Metcalf would be a good target, wouldn't he?
Yeah. And he's done it. I think he's had one first-round pick in his whole career that caught a touchdown pass, and that was some tight end Jordan somebody that was Mercedes Lewis. And that was his third or fourth stop. He's done it with a lot of guys. He's like Peyton Manning. He's made a lot of people a lot of money because they were probably not as good as he made them look, though.
Yeah, and Tom Brady too. He's done the same thing. He makes them all better. But he's really good. But Rodgers is, man, I've seen him do things that just can't be done.
So, Coach, let me get this right. If you was the general manager of Green Bay, you would be drafting split ends all 7 rounds?
It's still only throw it 3 times now.
Pretty good for a guy don't even play a split end, ain't it? I don't even have one on my team yet. I'm going No, but I know what I'd do if I was general manager. I'd call Aaron Rodgers up and say, hey, who do you want, Aaron?
Yeah.
That's what I'd do. Who do you want?
I just asked him to write me some insurance and tell me who he wanted to play with, and that'd be.
I'd say, now, we're going to give you a pick, and we're going to take a pick. You get a pick, and we get a pick.
Yeah. I got to see him play in college one time, Coach, and after I saw him play in college, and then for him to fall on draft day, I do collect sports cards. I grew up loving football. I told everybody around me I was going to buy everything I could with Aaron Rodgers' name on it because he was about to set the NFL on fire.
Yep, that's right. I got to see Brett Favre. I went to see Alabama and Southern Miss game one day, homecoming, and I think Harold Bowden was with me that day. And he said, I think their quarterback's hurt. Had a bad car wreck this week. I didn't know Brett Favre. Who is that? I knew who he was before the day's over because he came in about the second or third quarter and started throwing them bullets around and beat Alabama. And so that way, on the way home, we knew who he was then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say nothing because we had Brett Favre on the Falcons for about 2 seasons, and then we was dumb enough to trade him away.
Yeah. I was going to bring it up, Howie. I was going to let you buy on that one today, but it's good managing right there. That's the Falcons.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
That's why we have 0 Super Bowl rings.
Long suffering. Hey, I'm a Falcons and a Tennessee graduate. You ought to just give me a championship, Coach. You ought to send me one. So.
I was watching something the other day. It showed about 5 people their reaction during that Super Bowl. The Atlanta fans they were at home, but it was hilarious to watch them. This one guy said, he said about Atlanta. He said, but at the end he said, "I love you, Falcons. Don't get me wrong, I love you." But that's the life of a fan.
When New England made the score 28-7, my daughter's 11 was 7 then. Grabbed me by the hand and told me to go to bed. I didn't want to watch what was about to happen.
Well, I was sitting there waiting. My oldest son is a New England fan, and he went upstairs and went in his bedroom, closed the door. And then when they won, he comes back down and starts running his mouth. And I said, "Oh, no, you got to watch it." Well, he's up there listening to the score. But, boy, ain't it a shame, isn't it, to make a catch like Julio did there, and nobody's going to ever remember it.
Nope.
That was one of the greatest catches I have.
That team was a great offensive team, and nobody's going to remember it because they lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just wish they knew how to let that play clock run down to 2.
Yep.
Coach, I've been trying to get you to come over and coach them for years, but you said that the money just wasn't right.
Yeah, the money's not right.
Yeah. If Howie gives you directions to the stadium, you'll probably need a raise because you'll have to have a driver.
Oh, man.
Coach, anytime you want to sit in with us, we thank you. You come back anytime. It's been the best interview we ever had. And again, we appreciate you. We appreciate most of all, Coach, we appreciate what you've done for the youth of Fyffe, Alabama, because kids get better through sports. I always tell everybody, good kids grow up at the ball field. So thank you very much for that.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. So anytime y'all want to listen to me, go ahead and call me. I'll be around.
All right, Coach Benefield, and I sure appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us.
See you, Howie.
Thanks, Coach. See you.
Howie, that was I can't tell you how special that was to me. When I started this network, the first thing I ever said to you was the one interview I wanted was Coach Paul Benefield, and thank you for setting that up. He's an incredible man. You know what? Coach is humble, though, too. So I just I think the world of him as a person, and somebody that's been around coaches for 30 years. He's always been class to me.
Yeah, he's willing, he's willing to help out any way he can. And I knew you was wanting this interview, so it's kind of hard to get it done during the season, of course, because he's always got something going on. And so I finally sent him a text the other day and asked him. He's like, "Yeah, sure, just whenever. You just let me know. You want to do it today?" And I said, "No, not today." I said, "But we'll get back in touch with you in a week or so." And he said, "Well, just let me know."
And, coaches. When I told Coach that he was truly a hero to me, he is. I mean, that day I stuck that mic in front of him, and I've had coaches react bad to that. And he just looked at me with all the class and said, "Let's roll it." I walked away, and he called me back, Howie. I assumed he didn't want to do the interview. I walked away, and he was motioning me back, and he said, "Look, I know you got to get an interview. Let's do it." Nothing more you can ask for an example of grace under fire than that, because that was a tough night.
Yeah, absolutely. I was there at that game. You was there, of course, and a heartbreaker. A crazy 4th down punt that went haywire, and Colbert County went from punting the ball on 4th and long to actually having a 1st down, and it just changed the whole complexion of the game.
LeBron Turner breaks his hand. Anderson, God, he had such a great night too, as Coach said. But again, this is off the record with Randall, and we've had Howie on. I appreciate you coming on, Howie. We're trying to do a little more. I believe we're going to come back with another AEW show at some point, along with our buddy Rob Musgrove, who's wanting to do a wrestling show at some point. We might get Coach Benefield somewhere down the road, maybe after the season. Or I hate asking him for an interview during the season, like you said, but we're definitely got some fun things coming up, and this was the best interview I've ever done. I'm walking on cloud 9, so I thank you.
Oh, there's no problem, and this is something that we're going to start trying to do at least, hopefully once a month. Get local coaches on here to talk to them, because it's that time of year. They're getting ready to start. Here we are, kind of nearly mid-June. So, before you turn around twice, we're on the football field somewhere on Friday night.
I have my first Sequatchie County game is 60 days from this weekend. So, you know, and this is crazy, man. We don't even have a football coach.
Wow.
They haven't made a hire. Our football coach left at the end of spring, and we're 60 days from snapping it up, and we haven't made a football hire at Sequatchie County yet. But, you know, that'll happen. So keep your eyes on that. Howie, one story, and we'll call it a night. Tell me a story about Coach Benefield, and we'll call it a night.
Wow, we covered a lot of them. You know, the one thing I feel like that has made him so successful is you know, his teams are really good, but then he'll sub these players in and get them playing time in case somebody does go down, so they can just step right in and take over for, you know, the person that may be going out, you know. And you know, that's something that some coaches don't have the luxury of doing, because they're in they're in a dogfight. But you know, a lot of Coach Benefield's games, they're up, you know, 28-0 at halftime, and so he has the luxury of subbing a player in here or there. And you know, that's one thing that kind of helps him out, I feel like.
It took Coach. This is my story. We'll call it a night. I thought when he took the Sylvania job in 92 or 93 or whenever it was, I truly believed he'd win a state championship in his first 4 or 5 years at Sylvania. It took him till 2014 to win that title. I know his 2017 was really good, but that is persistence, and that is the work ethic we need in this day. I mean, that's staying after it to get it done. So
it goes down. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step in, but it goes into the parents stays out of the way, and he does what he needs to do, and that's kind of what needs to be done everywhere, really.
For everybody that joined us today, matter of fact, here in about 60 minutes, I'll be back with 3R Sports with Robbie Davis and Raj Mehta. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that's a big news. We're going to talk about the transfer portal, how it's affecting college football. We're going to talk about the expanded college football playoffs. And as you said, it's time to get ready for football because it's just around the corner.
Absolutely.
So for tonight, for Off the Record with Randall, for Howie Chaney, for myself, good night. And, well, it's kind of good night for me. I'll be back in an hour, so I'll call it a break.